It being on or about 6:31 on October 28th, 2024, I call the meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board and commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. Let's begin with a roll call vote to establish a quorum.
Benson present.
Carol present.
Rosman present.
Vecchio present.
All right. Our first order of business tonight is a project presentation for a potential canoe/kayak program at New Pond.
I don't see Joe in the audience.
Okay. So I'll plan on...
Hold on, here we go. Town of Easton. Okay, I thought that was Melissa. Okay. He's here.
Perfect.
Hi, everybody. My bad. I joined from the work account instead of the personal.
No worries at all. Would you start by just introducing yourself for the record and tell us whatever you'd like?
Yeah, absolutely. So good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Pitti. I'm the Deputy Director for Health and Community Services. I serve as effectively the town's Parks and Rec Director, as well as the representative for the Council on Aging, operating all of our day programs out of Rockingham Mall. I've worked for the town, oh gosh, I think this is my third year. And the concept of this program is actually something that I've had in mind since I first spoke with some of the folks at town when I initially interviewed here. If you've been in Easton for any amount of time, you obviously know we have quite a bit of water in town. It makes it a bit hard to do a lot of development, which I know you all are pretty familiar with. But I put together a PowerPoint today just to provide a little bit of a visual aid for some of the things that I have in mind. I think it's safe to assume that you all are pretty familiar with this property. I'm sure you all, I know Jen has walked this quite a bit. So I'll start with the site as a whole. So first of all, it's absolutely beautiful resource in town. I wish the town that I lived in had one, a body of water like this. It's presently, to my knowledge, highly used for fishing and kayaking and canoeing already. When I made a stop by over the summer, when I was trying to think about different locations that might be a good venue for paddle programs, for lack of better terms, I was referred to this one. It seems like a lot of folks in town, even town staff, use it for this type of purpose. One thing I noticed pretty quickly is on this right-hand side picture here, the ramp or where you would launch your boat from is relatively steep. And it looks like it's gone through a considerable amount of erosion and it's washed out in a lot of ways. And it's made it a bit tricky to sort of maneuver down there if you're maybe a little bit older, or you might have young kids that are hoping to get into kayaking or canoeing. So an idea bounced around, and Jen and I spoke about this a little bit, and she seems pretty interested in the idea, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for it, is to consider how we might be able to make some changes to the space to offer a more consistent and higher quality opportunity for something that's already being utilized. There's a number of ways you could go about it, and I'm thinking this might be a good candidate for CPA funding in a few years if the commission is, willing and able to support something like this. It could help make the most of a recreational resource in town that's tapped, but not potentially as good as it could be. There's a number of ways you could go about it. It could be something that my office manages, does appointments, if you're familiar with them as well. There's also sort of kayak or canoe vending machines that have become popular in a few different towns and around our area. Or it could just be sort of renovated with some new docking or a little bit of a launch that makes it a bit more accessible for folks and easier to navigate as an eroded out sort of dock slide. The one great thing about kayaking, so I'm a certified kayak instructor, and I've been engaging in that activity for a number of years now around our region, is that it's very friendly to folks who have no experience, who might be a little limited physically, which lends itself to being a really great intergenerational or family program as well, which I know has been a really big priority for folks around town, including upper administration. So this could, again, take shape in a number of different ways. You could have some sort of developed dock if that was something of interest, potentially wood, which might be a little bit less harsh on an environment, or just re-engineering the area that we have there. But a few of the goals or outcomes I would want to keep in mind for this, or that Jen and I initially spoke about, is enhancing the accessibility, particularly for folks in the community who might have a disability, particularly a mobility limiting disability, and just improve overall existing use. And it's come up a bunch at recent town meetings, various community engagement conversations and outreach that I've been a part of, that there's a lack of recreational opportunities in South Easton, at least sponsored by the town. This could help sort of rectify that in a way. And additionally, I would certainly want to sponsor any sort of preventative signage that could increase priorities for the Conservation Commission, or general good stewardship of the environment, making sure folks know not to dispose of fishing lines, in inappropriate areas. Maybe we could even have some receptacles there, and pointing out maybe some interesting facts about the environment, so it gives folks a bit more of a feel of ownership of the environment, and they would be more inclined to treat it with the respect that it deserves. So those are some of the highlights of the highlights. When Jen and I spoke, she said, keep it sort of high level. I'd love to get into the nitty gritty of it, but I feel that might be a bit premature. So at a baseline, I wanted to present you all sort of this higher level conceptual plan here of what could be in terms of maxing out an already utilized resource in town. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I appreciate it.
I think this is a phenomenal idea. I think creating a sort of really accessible entry point for this type of activity I don't think there's a downside. I think it's always sort of been my position that it's easier to sell conservation when people have firsthand experience with it. So the more of that we can do in community engagement, I think it makes what we sometimes have to do on the side of enforcement and explain to people about resources in their yard a little bit easier, and gets more buy-in along the way. We are in the process of what will be sort of a multi-year invasive species management plan that does include New Pond. And so I think we'll be looking at potentially treating New Pond probably fiscal year 26. Is that right, Jen?
That sounds right. If we are approved funding.
Yep. So whatever we do, I think we would want to have a conversation. It could be as simple as signs in the watering area for invasive species being transported from essentially the bottom of recreational boats to and from. I think some of that signage might actually already be up at New Pond, but I might be wrong. And I think some thought towards that, but otherwise it's something that I'm very much in favor of, and I'd like to hear what other members of the commission think.
Yeah, I'd be interested in the idea as well, and I think the CPC would tend to be receptive to that type of thing, and so there is an allowance for recreational, as you all know. One of the things that would be a concern to me is, will you be able to drive into that area, drop the boat off, and then drive to a point, or leave your car at the point of removing the canoe or kayak? I don't understand that layout.
Yeah, and I haven't actually canoed there in years, but there's a pretty good sized dirt lot, right? Do we know how many cars fit there?
No, I would say at least 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt similarly when I stopped by there. Also, out of curiosity, I can't tell when I stopped going through my slides if it stopped sharing, or did you?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Okay.
When we start talking, I stop sharing so we can actually see each other.
I was
Sorry,
a little worried. I was like, oh, that'd be very embarrassing. But yeah, that's a really good question. And Chair Carroll, to your point about aquatic invasive species, that was actually a multi-year summer internship that I did through the Finger Lakes Land Trust. So I have I have a pretty good awareness of those types of things and appreciation of how quickly those invasive species can spread if they're not managed or represented to the public in a correct way.
I also really like the idea of trying to make these types of activities accessible to people who might have physical limitations. So not only do I appreciate that here, but if you think of any way we can make other properties that we have more accessible to people who might need assistance, I'd be very open to it, as I think the rest of the commission would be.
Sounds like a good project to me.
Yeah. So I don't think there's no vote or anything required from us, right? It was more just,
It's just a
hey, this is something we're looking at.
general acceptance by the Conservation Commission to do a joint project with the recreation folks, which is
Yes,
a great
please.
project to be able to do together. Yeah.
I think it would be useful to have a topographic view of the area blown up so that you can show where it is on the pond and where that parking lot you mentioned, give the general layout so people can understand that.
Agreed.
And if you need CPC funding, we will probably start the new cycle in actually July. So if we're going to work on this, we should have at least a preliminary write-up concept piece done by something like August to get it into the following year's CPC budget round. And that just has to be an overview, so it doesn't have to have all specifics, but at least a general idea of, you can explain where it is, roughly what you want to do and how much it'll cost. Their main interest will be the cost. And it would be helpful also if we could find in our budgets some money to cost share with the CPC. That would go, I think, a long way in helping get it kick-started through approvals.
There'd be other grants available as well. Public Access Board would probably look favorably.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Permitting
It's
and making any modifications to the access point.
Yeah, the projects are usually viewed a little more favorably if other people are partially funding at least. So that would be most appreciated, I'm sure, by the committee.
Jen, you've been great at finding us money, so thank you.
I love free stuff. Joe, do you need anything else from us?
I do not. Any input if folks have ideas after the fact or you had questions, I'm more than happy to take any emails on. My info's on the website. Very happy to hear the general consensus of support. I think this could be a really cool offering for residents in town. My mind is spinning already with potential programs and how we can get this out in the community.
Thank you so much for taking the initiative.
Yeah, thank you all for hearing me out.
See you soon.
Have a good evening.
So moving on to hearings and possible deliberations, our first order of business is 10R Roundtable Road, which is the Old Pond Conservation Area Bay Circuit Trail. Request for a determination of applicability for trail repair. This is our Eagle Scout project that we heard last meeting.
Hi.
Hey, Nate, welcome back.
Yeah. So, should I start presenting now?
Sure.
Yes, please.
All right, can you see everything just fine?
Yep.
All right, so I'm a life scout from Troop 193, working on my Eagle Scout, and this is going to be my Eagle Scout project proposal on a bridge construction / trail repair. So the overall plan is that we're going to add a wooden bridge over a small stream on a higher ground than the original bridge, connect it to the path further down, let the washed out trail repair, and then remove the old stone bridge. So these are just some maps. It's off of Round Table Road, and it's part of the Bay Circuit Trail. The left map just shows roughly where it is in Easton, and the right map's just off of it shows the street in the Bay Circuit Trail. And this is a map from Easton GIS, and it shows that it's not like a mainstream, it's a drainage into Beaver Brook, and then the black dotted line shows the Bay Circuit Trail. This is a map of a zoomed in version, and the smaller dotted line is where our trail is roughly going to go. The little red dot is the old stone bridge, and then the dotted blue line is the drainage. So this is what it looked like after heavy rain a while back. This line shows the banks of the stream, and then everything else is just overflow. And this is after some pretty heavy rain. This is just a different angle. These were both taken from the stone bridge, and this shows that the trail is just completely washed out, and it flows back into the stream from just a spot that it's not supposed to. This is back to the old picture. It's just roughly where my bridge would be placed. And then this is from where our bridge is going to be placed. The blue line represents the stream, and then the red circle is where I'm intending on putting a gabion to support the bridge. The greenery shows that it's not really a heavy streamed area. There shouldn't be too much water going through there, because otherwise there wouldn't be plants growing there. This is just a rough bridge design, shows all the measurements and how it's going to work. So we'll have footings on every spot where there's going to be new stringers placed in to support those. We'll have the gabion connected to this footings by rebar, and then the gabion will be set a decent bit into the ground to make sure it stays on sturdy ground, not just the nutrients filled ground. And it's not going to be placed on the actual banks. It should just be staying on where it's been flooded. And once we remove the old stone bridge, that shouldn't even happen because it shouldn't be flooding anymore. And then this is just a top view. It shows the dimensions of the banks and the stream. The overall stream isn't too wide, and it doesn't have constant flow year round because it's not like a main stream. And then we'll be trying to help connect and repair the trail. So because the original trail has been destroyed, I'll have to create a short section. Shouldn't be too far. We won't have to like change much of the terrain. And then to repair the old section that's been washed up, we'll just be covering it with like stuff around the area, like sticks and logs and stuff, to try to let it grow on its own, unless you want me to do something specific with that area. This is just a photo of what the old stone bridge looks like, and it shows how it's just completely getting overflowed and that it's just not working properly. And then to deconstruct the bridge, we'll try to use a block and tackle to remove the like much larger rocks, because there are some pretty heavy rocks. And if that doesn't work, we'll use a pry bar or a hammer to try to get them out of the way and then wheel them away. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Nate. That was a really comprehensive presentation. My questions were really mostly about the schematics last time we saw you. Thank you for putting that together. I think I understand what you're proposing. And I think it's much needed in that area. Jennifer, any staff comment on this?
No, it's an excellent project, that existing stream crossing. where the bridge is just too small. And so it's backing up all the water and it's causing a lot of erosion. So this is very much needed, and we appreciate you taking on this project.
Comments or questions from other members of the commission? Any public comment here for 10R Roundtable Road trail repair? All right, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing for 10R Roundtable Road.
Vecchio second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
ADI.
Vecchio I.
I'll make a motion for a +2 and -3 under the Wetland Protection Act determination and a -2 under the bylaw.
Vecchio second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
ADI.
Vecchio I.
Nate, thank you very much for undertaking this. You have your permit to do it, and please just stay in touch with us if you need anything, support, questions along the way.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Have a good evening.
Too. So continuing our theme of trail work, our next order of business is 79 Columbus Ave, which is the Clifford Grant Conservation Area. It's our Conservation Commission's application request for determination of applicability for trail repair.
Correct. So that's me. I'm going to present that. We have two portions under this wetland permit application. As you know, we've been working to reconstruct a portion of the trail that was on private property. In order to do that, we've done as much as we can with humans. We're going to need a small, very small machine to go in there and remove the rocks so we can finish that trail work. And then there's another section. I'm just going to put up the map here. I just wanted to get it started before I showed that. Okay, you can see that, yes?
Yes.
So this is the, here, I'll start here. This is the school, high school and elementary schools. This is the trail that comes in. The parcel of land that we purchased at the last town meeting so that there's direct access. This is the portion of the trail that goes onto private property and that we've been rerouting. So this is the section where we'll need a machine to help us. And then there's another section closer to Randall Street where it's really muddy. And so we are in the need of either some boardwalk or some puncheons, something to help people stay out of the water to prevent the creep that's happening on the side. You know, people don't want to walk in the mud and they keep edging out further and further. So those are the two projects for us.
Do we know how the machine's going to get back there and what we're using for a machine?
I'm told it's really small and they'll be able to drive it in from the school.
Like a little Bobcat?
It's like a little Bobcat Barrett with a bucket.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
Ditch Witch size
Yeah.
type of thing. Got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll probably have to bring in a little bit of material.
One bucket at a time or trailer?
Well, you know, we can allow temporary motorized access with small vehicles, you know, to be able to do the work. We've done that on occasion with a number of the scout projects, just to get the materials there. And after that, it's back to non-motorized.
Yeah, no, it's needed here. I was more just curious. Questions or comments from other members of the commission? I think this will go a long way towards making that a little bit more accessible. Any questions or comments from members of the public? Anybody?
Nope.
Okay. All right, seeing none, motion to close the public hearing for 79 Columbus.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Motion for a +2, -3 Wetland Protection Act determination and a -2 bylaw determination.
Rossman second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you to our volunteers who are going to be doing a lot of work back there.
Yes.
Up next is 529 Turnpike Street. Request for determination for the installation of a septic system. Hey, Peter.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me and see the screen?
We can hear you. We can see you.
Cool. For the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group. We're representing the homeowner tonight for an RDA relative to the repair on a failed 4-bedroom residential septic system. The site is located on the western side of Turnpike Street. Looking across Turnpike to the east, we have a BVW delineated as flags 1 through 4. The 50-foot buffer is out in Turnpike Street, and the 100-foot buffer is in our front yard. Really tight site here. Our proposal is basically to abandon the existing septic components out back, provide a new septic tank, and then gravity flow around to the front to a pipe and stone leaching field. We have a little bit more area in the front yard. We also have more suitable soils in terms of the grading out front. We will have to move the water line. So let's see. Just looking at the plan, you see the 85 contour. So the whole site kind of slopes from left to right down towards Turnpike. We're proposing sedimentation control along the northern or down gradient portion of the project, including along Turnpike Street, effectively encompassing the access and the construction. This is all being done in existing lawn. We're not looking at any tree or vegetation removal within the buffer zones. The area will be going back basically to match the grade as it is now. No grade changes out here. What else? We show a dewatering pit and stockpile areas on the northern portion of the lawn, both outside the buffer zones. So this is pretty straightforward. Any questions from the commission on this?
I don't have any right now. Jennifer, any staff comment here?
No, it's actually across the street from the wetlands, so we don't anticipate there'd be any issues as long as the sediment control is working correctly, and if any dirt is tracked into the street, that they sweep it at the end of each day.
Perfect. Questions, comments from other members of the commission? All right, seeing none, any public comment here for 519 Turnpike? All right, seeing none, motion to close the public hearing for 519 Turnpike Street.
Vecchio, second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
All right, motion for a +2 and -3 under the Wetland Protection Act and a -3 under the bylaw.
Vecchio, second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Thank you, Peter.
Awesome. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Up next is 9 Sullivan Ave, the Easton Children's Museum. We have Brad Holmes for a notice of intent for the construction of a playground.
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes from ECR on behalf of the Easton Children's Museum. I believe there may be Christine Santoro, the applicant, and possibly Merrill Engineering and Lula Landscape Architects,
Okay.
if you see them. Thanks.
What was the name on the landscape architect?
Samantha, right?
Lula Landscape Architects. they may or may not be. Nick Courtney from Merrill might be in the audience.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So while you're bringing up Nick, I'll just introduce the project. We've submitted a notice of intent for a playground improvement project. The Easton Children's Museum at 9 Sullivan Avenue. I'm sure the commission is aware of the property and the site conditions. Before I get into the improvement project, I was going to introduce Christine. She'd like to just introduce the Children's Museum to the commission and have a minute to speak.
Please.
Christine, you're muted. There you go.
Good evening, members of the commission, Ms. Carlino, everyone, and in the public. I'm Christine Santoro, and I've been the director of the museum for about 3.5 years. And the museum, as many of you are familiar with, has served as a very popular and engaging educational venue in southeastern Massachusetts for children ages 1 through 7. We do this by offering a wide range of programming at the museum in the community through our CME 360 program and in the Wild Place, our museum's, the outside extension of the museum. Our focus is on hands-on learning activities based on a vast body of child development research, demonstrating that play is a fundamental building block that helps children grow and flourish. We design our programs to encourage children to be curious and innovative problem solvers, learning through action, investigation, and creation. Tonight, our focus is on the Wild Place, which has been part of the museum's outdoor play space since 2006. When children play outside, they are more physically active than when they play inside. And the data shows that now children seem to be spending less time outside with outside play. So we decided to redesign our Wild Place to encourage safe, active outdoor play. We plan to integrate natural elements in the Wild Place, native plants, trees, grasses, rocks, as well as attractive educational play equipment. Our outdoor play and appreciation of nature go hand in hand. Environmental stewardship is critical to children's future and to the future of our planet. We plan to provide a platform for children to build a connection with the natural world, and we hope that you will support our mission. I want to thank you for your time, and I ask you to approve our application.
Thank you.
Can I share my screen?
Please.
So this project here, this is the existing conditions plan. This is a site survey prepared by Merrill Engineering. This is the playground. The Children's Museum is over here to the south. This is north is to the left of our screen. This is the existing playground. There's a wood stage and walkways and some older playground equipment. This project does contain wetland resource areas consisting of the riverfront area. So the Quessett Brook is actually culverted under the property here. With that comes the 200-foot riverfront, which just about encompasses the whole playground area. There is bordering land subject to flooding that's in the tip of the property, the FEMA AE zone here. And we do have a bordering vegetated wetland off-site that brings in the 50-foot and the 100-foot buffer zone. So we do have resource area and buffer zone on site. This project, we knew the commission was going to be supportive of the project and would certainly be favorable to a playground improvement project, especially for this property. But the trouble is that with the riverfront brings with it some tricky guidelines and standards. So we're held to the riverfront redevelopment standards on this site. So when we add degraded riverfront, we have to mitigate that. And that was kind of a challenge in the beginning, and we were able to kind of put some draft plans together, and Jennifer took a lot of time and helped us to craft the design that we're at now, because it sounds simple, but when you're adding, you know, a playground surface, is that degraded, or do you need wood mulch, or, you know, soil? So that was the challenge that we wound up with. So that's the existing conditions plan. Let's see, this is the proposed conditions plan. Mainly the main walkways are staying. There are some revisions to, you know, stone pathways. The playground equipment is now proposed, which would be on a wood chip mulch and soil underneath, so that doesn't create a new degraded area. But one other aspect that was more difficult, but a great site improvement, is that we need to control the stormwater on the site. So there's 2 rain gardens proposed, one here and one here, that would all use native plantings, and also a roof infiltration system here, which is also going to collect the roof water runoff from the building and infiltrate it into the ground. So we are improving the stormwater on the site, because this isn't an exemption. It's not a single family home. It's more commercial playground, but we still have to meet the Massachusetts stormwater standards. So we have done that. All the plantings on the site are proposed to be native, and I'll bring up the landscape plan. So there is approximately, we have an increase of approximately 2,055 square feet of new degraded riverfront that consists of areas that don't contain topsoil, so new hardscape. So in order to do that in compliance with the riverfront regulations, we have to mitigate that at a 2-to-1 ratio. So we have 4,110 square feet of mitigation plantings to compensate for that new 2,000 square feet of degraded area. So overall, it's in compliance with the riverfront regulations, and you can see that the landscape plan has totaled out the square footages. You know, you still see the walkway and playground equipment with wood mulch. Again, you have your rain gardens, some revisions to the stairs and pathways leading through, but overall, the theme is similar to existing, but a great improvement to the site. So there are no proposed filling in the flood zone, so we don't have to compensate with compensatory storage there. There's planting proposed, but there's no change in the topography or earthwork. So we were in compliance with that performance standard. So that's an overview of the project. Nick from Merrill can explain some of the stormwater if you're interested. With that, I'll bring it back to the engineering plan and can take any questions you may have.
So actually, Brad, can I just ask, in the rain gardens, is that being counted towards mitigation?
It isn't. So
Okay.
we have the 2-to-1 ratio plantings to make that in compliance. I included the stormwater as an improvement, just a general site improvement, but not something that we're counting for to comply with the riverfront regs.
Okay. Really appreciated the notes on redevelopment as well.
Sure.
So, Nick, could you walk us through stormwater?
Yep. So Nick Courtney with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors.
Nick, would you like me to stop sharing and you can pull it up if that helps?
Sure, yeah, I have it on my screen right now.
You have it on your screen?
Yeah, so I can
Okay.
share it.
Great. I don't want to drive the bus.
Can everyone see my screen right now?
Yep.
Okay. So for this project, our main goal was to kind of keep the theme of the playground with plantings to be included for the stormwater. So we wanted to focus on getting some type of rain gardens in there. For pre-treatment, we're doing stone diaphragm, so all the new proposed impervious areas and existing impervious areas will flow towards those stone diaphragms for pre-treatment and then overflow into the rain gardens. The reason we are proposing the subsurface infiltration systems is because groundwater is relatively high on the site, so we couldn't take recharge in the rain gardens. So we're just taking recharge from that existing roof instead. The only thing, so for peak rates, 2-year, 10-year, 25-year are met. Relatively low CFS for the site. 100 years close, but after looking in HydroCAD, there's no additional flooding that would happen in the 100-year. The proposed conditions in terms of volume is less than the existing. We also have, and here you can see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. These two areas here are French drains. They're going to run underground. Due to this mulch area is going to be a little bit lower, so any stormwater that goes towards that area is going to infiltrate and then run through a French drain into the rain garden. And yeah, that's all I have for right now. Feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you. So Jen, I think we got 2 DEP comments on this. Would you mind just raising where those stand?
For me or for Brad?
I guess for whoever has them.
Yeah.
I think I'll jump in quick. One of them was not to count the stormwater management as mitigation, which we haven't.
Yep.
And I can't remember what the other one was. Sorry, Jen.
Just demonstrating compliance with redevelopment section of Riverfront, which you did. You explained it to us. Ben, did you want me to jump?
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Okay. We actually have all the information that you need in order to close tonight and make a decision.
Great.
Their mitigation, even though it's not counted in the calculations, but stormwater mitigation, stormwater management is an improvement over existing conditions to help meet the criteria. And there is invasive species removal. I don't think you mentioned it, but there's a lot of Japanese knotweed that they will be removing as part of this project, and the mitigation plantings do meet the requirements. So it's a good project, and thank you for pulling everything together as we discussed in the past. We don't have any other comments for them.
Thank you. Questions or comments from other members of the commission? All right, seeing none, any public comment here for 9 Sullivan Ave? All right, seeing none, I assume you'd like to close tonight?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Motion to close the public hearing for 9 Sullivan Ave.
Well, we have one comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll promote them.
Hi, I was just wondering if the transcript and the recordings will be made available afterwards.
I think usually the recordings are broadcast on ECAT. I've never been asked if you can get a copy of the transcript. Jennifer, do you know the answer to that?
We don't usually take a transcript, but people at ECAT might be able to answer that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any additional public comment for 9 Sullivan Ave? Seeing none, motion to close the public hearing for 9 Sullivan Ave.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Motion to issue an order of conditions and permit for work for 9 Sullivan Ave.
Crossman, second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
All right, thank you very much. Great project.
Thanks very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night. Up next is 445 Bay Road. Notice of intent for a culvert removal and wetland restoration.
Hi, this is Paul Martin from BSC Group with an interesting and beneficial project for the town of Easton. What we're in front of you for is, and let me share my screen.
So Paul, we cannot see you, but we can hear you, just so you know.
Okay, hold on.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Got all the buttons clicked. So this is an ecological restoration project, NOI filing, for some work on town property, the Sam Wright Field. And it involves overall culvert and berm, earthen berm, and a cement head wall removal from Mulberry Brook, and some BVW creation, and a few other little things in order to kind of undo, I guess, some of the historic activities that when it was a farm were undertaken, including some suspected historic fill of wetlands. I'm trying to get to the dang plan here. Wow.
Attachment B.
B, okay. Make this a little smaller. All right, so this is the plan for the culvert removal work. So right now, there is a pond created by an earthen berm, a corrugated, 2 corrugated metal pipes, and a reinforced concrete pipe that are shown here. There is a concrete head wall. There has been, under high flow events, some bypass of the culverts. So there's a little bit of an erosion of the earthen berm over here. One of the culverts is at least partially collapsed. So this whole thing creates a hydraulic restriction that is responsible for having created the pond. I'm sure it was a farm pond that the farmer used for various purposes. It is starting to slowly fill in and take the natural path of eutrophication. So what we're proposing is to remove the culverts, the concrete wall, and reshape the earthen berm to basically have contour over here and contours over here with just a little bit of a, I'm just looking at the profiles right here. We'll take advantage of the current eroded portion of the earthen berm and slightly move over the main channel. And we will leave a little bit of a sill here, excuse me. So that we'll have a small, if you will, puddle or pool within the stream. If you know stream terminology, streams are categorized as being riffle, run, or pool. Riffle being, rocky substrate with cascading water. Run is faster flowing water, but relatively laminar, smooth flow. Then pools are deeper areas with more sluggish flow. And the idea behind here is just to have a little bit of a deeper water refuge. I mean, it's only going to be 18, 20 inches deep. But in case there are drier times when the flow in the stream drops off, minnows and some aquatic insect larvae and stuff could make their way into this pool and perchance survive until the river flow comes back up. So that's kind of the culvert removal. In addition, we will be reworking the bank down here a little bit. The wetland mitigation is proposed in this area. And let me go to the sheets that show that detail. Oh, here's some photos. I don't know how many people have gone for a walk out here with their dogs or anything, but it's a really nice parcel. Oops. Come on. So here you can see the concrete head wall. One of the pipes, I think, is over here, and there's a couple over here. And then that kind of overflow channel is over here. This is upstream of the culvert areas. You can see the pond is starting to fill in. It tends to be 16 to 15 feet wide. The pond is over here. The wetland replication area is proposed next to it. Our monitoring of groundwater levels suggests that 2 to 3 feet of soil needs to be removed. And then we do have a planting plan. And where's that?
Attachment F.
Ooh. Golly. Way down here?
No, it's above. It's right below the ACEC map.
Ah.
Yeah, you're too far.
Yeah. It's turned into a big NOI filing. Anyway, so while I look for that, we did take advantage of the attachment A that comes with an ecological restoration form. Filled that out. We talked or communicated with Fish and Wildlife. They said no time of year restriction would be needed. We also do have an invasive species management plan. When we were first approached about this project, Jennifer kind of let us have a blank slate and come up with a bunch of different ideas, and it kind of turned into probably needing to do a phase 1 and a phase 2. Geez.
It's page 90.
Which page?
Page 90.
90.
You're getting to it.
It's easy to get lost.
Jesus.
There you go.
All right. So this shows some of the impact areas. The banks will be temporarily disturbed along here, but then restored. This is the mitigation area. In addition to being BVW, it will be lowered enough to add some bordering land subject to flooding additional compensatory storage. All right, here we go.
Does that seem like a huge mitigation area?
This?
No, that map that you just had, and I don't mean to make you change pages, so you don't have to, but
No.
it seemed like a lot of mitigation. Just
No, the mitigation is still just the stippled area.
okay. Thank you.
And this is all area that will be temporarily disturbed to get equipment in here, or do the earth moving, pull the culverts. This will all be restored using native vegetation seed mixes. And the soil from here is proposed. I don't know, Jennifer, if you ever talked with the police about putting that berm up front, or whether they want a clear view onto the property.
No, I need to do that.
Yeah. So as I was saying, we kind of had this blank slate, and initially we're looking at possible creation of grassland bird habitat, invasive species, bunch of other things, but we've gotten it down to restoring the stream channel through here, creating BVW and BLSF. You'll see in here, we do have some things like float logs, create some riffle aeration in the stream, since we're going to be working in this area. The root bars, those are like the stumps that you take and you embed the tree part of the stump into the ground, and then the root wad is sticking along the stream bank. It creates habitat and helps address longer term erosion issues. I think that's the main elements. I don't know if you're familiar with a prior project, but the barn and house and other disturbed areas, a lot of concrete was removed from this area several years ago, and the grade was brought down to also create BLSF compensatory storage in this kind of green shaded area. So this is a continuation of doing things to remove evidence of the old farm and return this to a more natural state. And I think I don't want to talk about the phase 2 stuff because it's not necessarily Wetland Protection Act. Oh, this shows if the police are okay, we were thinking of taking the excess soil from here. Again, this wouldn't be in your jurisdiction per se, but creating a little bit of an earthen berm and some woody plantings to create a little bit of a nighttime light and noise barrier to allow this to become a little bit less disturbed by the traveling public. And the numbers for what's all created is in the form, and I don't have those all memorized. There are details about the species for the seed mix. The planting plan shows the spacing of the different kinds of plants for the BVW. There's some specs in here for root wads and other features, how to do some of the plantings. Casey Lee, our landscape architect that designed this, has probably done 24 wetland mitigation designs in Massachusetts. And I will stop talking because I think I read that I'm supposed to only take 15 minutes. And I don't know, Jenna, feel free to add or put some flavor on it from your perspective, since we've been working with you for a year and a half.
Yeah, you started to explain that this was an ongoing project. This is something that had been started before I came to the town more than 3 years ago. And so it's a continuation of that project to restore the habitat values and the ecosystem on the property. So like you said, the buildings have been removed. A couple of years ago, we received a grant from the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program to remove that soil in the floodplain area. And this project is to restore the natural stream functions and improve migration for aquatic species. Phase 2 would include more invasive species removal and habitat management. Paul, do you know what other permits are we required to get after this one?
We're going to have to get a Section 404 permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. And I think our impacts are below the level where we can just file an SV. And under the general conditions of the general permits, the order of conditions can serve as the 401 water quality certificate. So we won't need to file an individual application for that. And because we're removing structures from a water body, there's no Chapter 91. We're not adding anything to the stream channel.
Okay, and SV means self-verification form.
Yeah, that's the simplest version of the Army Corps Section 404 permitting. Basically, you submit something. There is Fish and Wildlife Service review and Tribal and Mass Historic Commission under Section 106. But they have 30 days to review and get back to you if they don't agree with your self-verification, in which case they would ask you to file for the pre-construction notification. But if you don't hear back from them after, it's actually taking a little longer than 30 days these days, but within 60 to 90 days usually, you can assume that you're approved and go to work.
Okay, and do we need to go through Mass Environmental Policy Act?
No, as long as we remain not using any state funds. So if we grab some funds from municipality program or some other DER grant program, that could push us into needing a MEPA. But right now, if it's privately funded, we don't exceed any of the thresholds for over 5,000 square feet.
Well, there's no state permit or state action.
And then, yes, there's no state action.
Okay.
But state funding would be the state action. But right now, there isn't any.
And then I think we received comments from DEP about sending the notice of intent to Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Yes.
That's all set.
Yeah. Yep. That's been done, and they said there are no time of year restrictions, and so
there you go.
Yeah, it should not be an issue with Fisheries and Wildlife. They actually want to improve habitat for aquatic species, so removing the culvert would do that.
We would hope. And Paul, you had addressed that in the presentation, so I apologize.
That's fine. And I forgot to mention that the culverts do create what's called a hanging culvert condition, where the downstream end of the culvert over time has created a plunge pool so that the water surface elevation at the downstream end of the culvert in a lot of the time of the year is below the culvert. So that prevents this passage upstream of fish, unless they're good jumpers, and I don't think we have any salmon in this river. So that's the aquatic movement improvement that Fish and Wildlife Service is looking for. It will allow fish to pass through here more easily for more flow periods of the year.
So Paul, we do have a new development. Last week, a resident asked me to go look at those two culverts, and they're both blocked with a beaver, by a beaver.
Oh.
Yeah. So, we'll chat offline about how we need to deal with that. And, just so other people are aware, it does seem like someone is mowing paths through our floodplain restoration area. And so I'm going to have to put signs up that say, please stop mowing this area. Any trail maintenance, any new trails, that would be part of phase 2. So please just keep to the existing trail network. Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, we're going to want to deal with those beavers, because if 2 of the 3, if we have any winter time big snow melt or rain events, it could exacerbate that erosion around the end of the head wall.
We'll come up with a plan for that.
Yep.
Oh, the last thing I was going to mention is, we don't need state funding. We don't need to go for a grant for this. We're working with the Nature Conservancy, and they are providing funding for
Fantastic.
the whole removal project. So we're very grateful to our partners so that we're able to do this project. And it would not be a cost to the town at this point, at least until we get our bids. We have to go out to bid for this project first.
Very good. Any comments or questions from members of the commission?
Well, I have one.
Please.
Sounds like there's going to be a number of trees removed, and I'm wondering if you couldn't replace some of those trees with chestnuts in the area. It looks like a good place for them if you're trying to rehabilitate the wildlife and be a good food source down the road.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, already, let's go to the planting list. These are some of the tree species: white oak, scrub, yellowwood, pitch pine, tupelo, cherry. And then we could certainly accept a condition in the order of conditions. It says, target the planting of whatever, 4 or 6, however many, and we can fit that into the arrangement.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
And Al, too, just so you know, I kind of had this location pinpointed for my next planting of chestnuts. So this is also in my sight. So we, whatever needs to be done is kind of going to happen that way. So it's headed there.
Good, good.
Questions or comments from any other members of the commission?
So, Paul, you may want to keep that page open, but I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other when we're commenting in case any other abutters have comments too. But you might have to, share your screen again. Just don't close your page.
Okay.
All right, seeing no additional comments or questions from the commission, any public comment here for 445 Bay Road? I take it no one? Okay. Motion to close the public hearing for 445 Bay Road.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Motion to issue a order of conditions and permit for work at 445 Bay Road, noting the potential addition of appropriate chestnut species.
Crossman, aye.
Carol motion.
Yeah. You know what I meant.
We got you. Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Great.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So moving to our next section of the meeting, continued hearings and possible deliberations. First up is 154 and 154R Elm Street, which is a notice of intent for the construction of stormwater management for a 4-lot subdivision road. The applicant, I believe, may be joining us, but has requested a continuance to the November 25th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Correct.
Is the applicant coming in to say something? Or
No,
is this
they've
the next
asked
part?
for continuance.
Okay. All right. I'm just seeing some folks popping in at the bottom of the screen.
Sorry, I jumped ahead.
Right. No worries. So motion to continue 154 and 154R Elm Street to the November 25th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Vecchio, second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Crossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Okay, up next is 718 Washington Street, which is a notice of intent for the construction of a commercial building with a new septic system, drainage system, utilities, driveway, and parking. And I believe you're muted if you were trying to talk to us.
Jennifer, I think we have Sammy Cripps. There
Yep.
she is.
Yeah, it didn't go through the first time, but it looks like she's there now, and I did this clever too. You didn't seem to go. There we go.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Ed Jacobs, PMP Consulting, Inc. With me is Sammy Cripps from PMP, Brad Holmes from Environmental Consulting and Restoration, and our applicant, Clever, has just come on the screen. We're here to represent the applicant, Clever Fijo, in the notice of intent filing to develop 15,000 square foot commercial building located at 718 Washington Street. I would just want to make a note at this time that Mike Peralt, the engineer for the project from PMP, will not be with us tonight. He had surgery today. So any questions as far as stormwater management, can express the concerns and whatnot. I'll make notes and we'll get them back to Mike. Okay. I know you guys are familiar with the site. It's just under 3 acres with 180 feet of frontage. It lies in the business zone. It's also within the groundwater recharge protection area. There was an ORAD approved for this site in August of 2023. And there was also an enforcement order issued in August of 2023 for disturbance in the 50 and 100 foot wetland buffers, the 100 and 200 foot riverfront areas, as well as filling of the floodplain. So some reparation work has begun in the buffer zones and the floodplain areas. The shed and the shipping containers have been pulled out of all the buffer zone areas, and they've been moved up beside that existing building that is in the back, that garage that's in the back. And the area has been cleaned up and it's been graded to within like a subgrade. So now that loam and seed can be brought in. The erosion control has been placed. It's been put in place, but it's only partially staked in. Only enough beam poles were delivered to put the stakes right through the middle of it. And, you know, in Easton, you guys want them on both sides. So Clever has ordered another round of beam poles. They're to be delivered. I think Clever said November 1st. So he'll finish getting those staked in. I think Sammy sent you a video of that today, Jennifer, of the erosion control.
Yes.
Okay. So once all the work is done in the, you know, for the enforcement order to get that back to restored, the rest of the site that's being designed, everything's outside of the buffer zone and the floodplain. So most of the work to satisfy the commission would be getting this restoration area straightened out. I can talk a little bit about the project. It's a 15,000 square foot commercial building. Sammy, can you bring up the plans? Yeah, let's leave it right there for a minute. This is the demolition and sedimentation control plan. So you can see the different shaded areas. Light blue would be the area between the 100 and 200 foot riverfront. The area in the light green is between the 50 and 100 foot wetlands. And then the dark green is the restoration area inside the 50 foot buffer. Sammy, why don't we go to layout materials for a second? So that's what's being proposed, would be that 15,000 square foot building. It's 10 units in there, and with associated parking. We meet the parking requirement. There'll be one space in every garage, and then we have 10 10 spaces down below. Although I just noticed tonight before we came on here that there's really only 9 spaces below, so we're gonna have to add a space down there. We do have room for that. We can just move the handicap space over 1 space. We have 8 truck parking areas down to the right-hand corner of the project. Sammy, go down to the rest of the landscape plan. Yeah, so this is what it would look like when the project is finished. All the restoration areas would be done. As you can see, there'll be a fence going, posting rail fence going along the back. That'll be the limit of work. And then all of the proposed design work is outside that 200-foot riverfront. We have a driveway going down for maintenance, 10-foot wide driveway going down for maintenance, but it will have a gate. We've added a gate there so that that can be locked. And that's just to do any maintenance within 10 feet of the retaining walls for the drainage structures. Let's go down a little bit more, Sammy, to the restoration plans. I think they're right at the very end, sheets 13 and 14. Yeah, keep going. There we go. So this is what is being proposed for restoration. In the 50-foot buffer zone, we have a planting list. And then in the 50 to 100, we have a seed mix. I think the seed mix list is on sheet 7. Shows what kind of mix they're going to use inside of the 50 and inside of the, between the 100 and the 200. We also, if you go down to the bottom a little bit more, Sammy, we show the area to be brought back to grade within the flood zone. And what we did there is we took the LiDAR off of MassGIS prior to 2019, and we superimposed that onto our project and traced the old contours on from 2019 to get those old grades back in. And those have been staked in the field to guide the construction guys in grading that properly. And as I said, it's probably about 6 inches below that right now, and they're going to bring that up to grade with loam and seed. So that's about it. I'll answer any questions that you have that I can answer. As I said, I won't be able to answer any stormwater management questions, unfortunately, not tonight, but I can bring your concerns back to Mr. Perot.
I think the majority of our questions tonight had to do with stormwater.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. That's I totally understand. Jennifer, would you get us started with staff comment?
Yeah, we have a number of staff comments. I'm going to say go back up to another the grading, and actually you could stay on that one, the green one, that landscape one.
Yep.
Okay, this is something that's been brought up a few times. The whole riverfront area was supposed to have been restored. This plan shows a portion of the riverfront area is grassed and clearly altered, so it needs to be added to the permit application and describe compliance with the bylaw under riverfront area. The relocated buildings would also need to be shown on the plan because they are still within riverfront area, and you want to show that they are not within floodplain.
Okay.
I mean, those were comments we made quite a while ago, so I kind of thought we would have that answer for this meeting.
Well, the buildings have been moved out of the riverfront area. They're way up beside the building that remains on the site. They're pushed way up beside that now.
Okay, and then once this building is constructed, are those
won't be on the site any longer.
They'll be removed from the site.
Yes, completely. Yep.
What build you talking about? Let's talk about the container, the
container.
The container. Yeah, it's already moved out.
Yeah.
It'll be removed.
Yeah.
Okay. The restoration work is taking quite a while. doesn't seem like much has happened in the last month, except for you had a little bit more grading, it sounds like, but nothing has been planted.
Nothing has been planted. I guess, Clever, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've ordered the plants and they will be here next week?
No, the plants to be in the first. The stake come tomorrow, and the plants come the first.
So the plants are coming the first.
Okay.
Those will be put in first, and then he'll work his way out with the loam and seed.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason I spread the loom yet because I don't want to drive the machine over the loom to put the plants.
Yep.
So I have to put the plants first. I ordered all that. It's almost 4 weeks ago, and the plants come in the first. I do all the plants and put some hay bales over there and come do all the rest for the loom and spread all the seed over.
Okay, but you're using straw, not hay, right?
Oh yeah, I use a straw. Yeah, I have a straw over there, and I use straw is not hay.
Okay, because there's a difference. So we just want to make sure we're
Yeah, it's always straw.
using the right stuff before you buy it. Okay.
All 12-inch straw.
Okay, so those are portions of the bylaw that do need to be addressed. And there are a number of stormwater comments that our peer reviewer, John Chesia, will probably, bring that up, but I don't know how useful that's going to be if Mike is not here. We did have a meeting in the office to discuss the comments from John. And so it doesn't look like anything's been revised since that meeting. Is that correct?
Well, I read through the letter. I think John could comment to that, but it looks like some of them have been addressed, but there's still outstanding issues. Yeah.
Okay, so can I stop sharing and then we'll ask John if he has some comments?
Sure.
Thanks.
So what I did in my letter, if you've had a chance to look at it, I tried to sort of summarize in the beginning of it, just under each standard, sort of where things stand. And I think in this particular case, some of these comments probably could be easily addressed. I don't think it's much trouble to answer some of them. I don't want to speak for what they want to do, but I know there's some issues that they took exception to my comments. So what I did try to do with the bulk of my letter is when I had a comment, I would reference the standards in the handbook and the description of a specific section as to why I've added the comment. I think some of the things that are going to be troublesome from my understanding with our meeting is the design of the infiltration basin, where it's basically a box contained completely within retaining walls. I don't think that complies with the handbook or the requirements there. And I think that some of those issues are going to be come back to the board. I'm a consultant. I give you my comments. I try to reference where I get them, but ultimately I'm not a vote or anything. So it's really up to commission to make those determinations. Since this seems like it's going to be shelved for a period and maybe they're going to make some more revisions. I don't know whether they plan to or not. And some of these comments may go away. But my understanding is some of them are probably going to be for the discussion at the next meeting. Hopefully everything goes well with the medical procedure and everything, and he's okay and he can come back and deal with it. But if there are questions of the commission on my letter on any of those issues, it's a good time to talk about it now, probably while I'm here.
And if I could just interject, there will be, this letter will be addressed, but we just got it on the 23rd. So Mike is going to take a look at it and address the comments.
Okay.
John, I don't have questions about your comments. I thought it was very comprehensive as usual. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from members of the commission?
None for me.
Any public comment here tonight for 718 Washington Street?
I have a question too. You don't like to do in blocking the retaining walls? Can I do solid concrete? You feel better?
No, it's
What-
supposed to be a slope. That's, if you look at the handbook specifically describes how to construct them. 3-to-1 side slopes, access around the top about 15 feet. There's a detail, there's a drawing, there's a specific description, and that's how they're supposed to be made.
You talking about slope behind the wall?
The berm that contains the water is sloped on both sides with 3-to-1 slopes and a width at the top for access.
Yeah, so we sort of start with, well, what are the LID, low impact development measures that are on the site? It doesn't seem like there are any. And then, you know, the proposal is to have basins that kind of look like concrete block, sort of a swimming pool or a pit with both a fence around it. It just doesn't meet the requirements of the handbook. And if you're going to propose using portions of the riverfront anyway, why not build something according to the handbook in that area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so Jennifer, our next meeting isn't until 25th, 11/25.
Correct.
Does that work for everybody, or would you like a later date? That's
No,
the
that'd be
earliest one I can
fine.
give you.
I think Mike can dive into Mr. Chessier's letter and address the comments, and we'll be getting the plans back to you well before the 25th.
Very good.
Okay, don't
motion.
forget about the wetland portion, though. Everybody jumps over to stormwater. You still have to address the wetland
Yeah,
portion.
as Mr. Fijo has stated, the plants will be there November 1st, so I would think by the time we get back to that meeting,
I have everything done.
all Jennifer.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mean the restoration part. I mean the compliance with the work that you're proposing within the riverfront area. Address that as well, please.
Question I have for you, look the plan at 200-foot bath. I have the old building and a 200-foot bath. How I doing? That's exists prop and 200-foot bath. What do you want me to do for the building?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Clever.
If you look the plan.
Sam, you can bring up the grading utility.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't do work within the 200-foot area. It means you're required to get permits for it. So if you need, you're already proposing to go into the riverfront area for, we don't know what purpose because it doesn't show on the plan, but if you're going to go into that area anyway, then why not make the basins, according to the handbook there?
My question I have, Samantha, can you go on the page in the top, please? The demo plan. Do you see over here the line that's almost halfway in the building?
Yep.
That's exists building, the 200-foot bath.
Mm-hmm.
That's, what do you want me to do for this exist build over here now? I have to be knocked down to be compliant?
Well, that building doesn't show on your new plan.
So I think what he's asking, Jennifer.
That's exist plan, that's exist building.
For the restoration area, does the building have to come down?
No, that wasn't, no. And it looks like you're going to be moving that anyway when you move forward with the project. So that doesn't have to come down now, no.
You don't have, all right. Can I do the line where I have the blue line over here, the dot blue line where I have the blue shade?
Mm-hmm.
And leave this arrow here to do all together with the project because I have this build over here?
Yeah, I think he's asking if you can just do the work right now as we show it to the bottom of what's going to be the wall.
I'm not seeing a wall. I see a limit of work.
Sorry, so small.
Yeah, the limit of work over here.
Yeah.
So we can do the
If you're proposing to add the area in the riverfront area up to the limit of work line, then yes, your restoration can stop at the limit of work line.
All right. That way I can do this after the time I got the building done, because I have to knock this build down. Because I don't want to come back here. That's all. I have to take the building down again. You know what I mean? That's why I have my question.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Motion to continue 718 Washington Street to the November 25th, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
80 second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spadia, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
So turning next to certificates of compliance, first order of business is 530, 550 Turnpike Street.
We did receive the surety agreement and the surety bond at the last meeting, last Friday. So this is ready for a partial certificate of compliance.
All right, motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance to 530, 550 Turnpike Street.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spadia, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Next up is 18 Summer Street. Request for full certificate of compliance.
That's ready for a full COC.
Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 18 Summer Street.
Vecchio, second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spadia, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Next is 41 Depot Street. Request for a full certificate of compliance.
Ready for a full COC?
Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 41 Depot Street.
Rossman, second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spadia, aye. He froze.
Vecchio, aye.
Very good. Moving next to enforcement. First up is 5 Jonathan Drive, which I believe there was an inspection with Jennifer and Bill. How'd that go?
Bill, do you want to describe?
Sure. So yeah, I went with Jen and I observed the stream basically from the roadway, approximately 200 feet downstream towards Flyaway Pond. I also observed several check dams, and there were numerous grade stakes in the center of the stream that basically had a line that showed where the water level, where the stream used to be. The existing grade of all the stakes were below that water level mark. Some were short a few inches, others were approximately 16 to 18 inches above where the existing grade is now. The check dams, however, did seem to be doing their job. They were catching sediment and leaf and other debris. I also observed that further downstream towards Flyaway Pond, there appear to be rocks and stones lining the walls of the stream instead of kind of like in like the bed of the stream. Jen kind of alluded that it was part of the restoration efforts. Lastly, on our walk back to the road, we observed that the sloped area on the side of the road was like scratched and scarified. I spoke with Paul, and he thought that the town might have come by with one of those brush mowers that they usually do from the side of the road. And he said that that probably did most of the work. And Paul later mentioned that he did rake the sloped area. I advised him to not disturb that area anymore because it could cause further unwanted erosion. But all in all, the stream seems to be starting to come back. Obviously, we'll be able to tell more with more rain. As you know, it's been pretty dry, so I'm thinking that might be worth just another look in the spring after we have some rain and stuff like that. But everything seems to kind of be, for the most part, put back where it should have been.
Perfect. So I think it sounds like we keep this on as enforcement, but not as a meeting by meeting agenda item, and we sort of monitor this for a season or two and see how it shakes out.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, correct. Everything that was done to restore the stream is still holding. It's still stabilized. We just want to monitor it when we get some actual rains and make sure it's still functioning properly.
Good. Thank you for going out and doing the site inspection. No motion required from us, right, Jennifer? Just keep following along.
Just an update.
Very good. Up next is 109 Rockland Drive.
Yeah, the owner was not able to make the site inspection that we had proposed, and so he can meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday after 3 o'clock. So if someone is able to make that date and time, let me know and I'll schedule an appointment with him.
I'm not able to do this Wednesday, but I can do next Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Of course.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And then next is 24 Summer.
At the last meeting, you guys voted to issue a fine, and I just did not get to prepare that and issue that. So I have not issued the fine yet, but he also hasn't finished his application. So that is something I can issue that fine tomorrow.
Okay. And I think that could work out well where our next meeting is until the 25th. Perhaps we have something done by the time we get there.
We hope.
With any luck. Moving on to board discussion. Al, review the meeting minutes from 9/23/2024 is our first order of business.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minute meetings as amended for the meeting you referenced.
Carol second. Benson motion, Carol second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Up next is conservation project list, and I think we're talking specifically about the Old Pond Dam.
Yes, Old Pond Dam has some significant repairs that need to be made. At the Springtown meeting, funding was approved in the capital budget to make those repairs. However, since that time, we've brought a whole bunch of restoration projects on Mulberry Meadowbrook. And so we thought it was a time to take a look at Old Pond and see if removing the dam to further those restoration goals would be a palatable idea. We met with the town's engineer, DPW, someone from the select board office and planning. It does make sense to remove the dam and focus our efforts on New Pond, where there's much more water. As we talked tonight about an actual program, we could have a program at New Pond. You know, there's a lot of prep work and a lot of discussion that still needs to go into it, but on the whole, we're removing one culvert at Sam Wright Field, carrying upstream on Foundry Street. The culvert under Foundry Street itself will be upgraded in the next couple of years, which would allow better aquatic animal passage. Being able to go through Old Pond Dam would, allow a number of fish to be able to spawn upstream. We also have a grant that we received from the EPA and Old Colony Planning Council to remove invasive species from basically the bank of Old Pond Dam all the way over to, say, the Bay Circuit Trail, remove the exotic invasive plants and restore that habitat with native species. So there's a number of restoration work that's going on in that whole system. I gave you guys copies of the site inspection we did with the town's engineering company on potentially removing dams, whatever. General steps for dam removal. So it's just a conversation that we needed to get started to see.
So conceptually, sorry, Jennifer.
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead.
So like conceptually, I think it sounds like a great thing with no downside, but I just sort of want to know what it means for water level in Old Pond. Having not really had too much work on dams that we've done since I've been here, with the exception of tree removal as required. I just don't know what it actually means to remove a dam and how it impacts the pond and the water resources downstream.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a pond any longer. It would be the restored stream system. But the wetland and the floodplain areas adjacent to the stream would be holding a whole lot of floodwaters. So that it shouldn't have an impact downstream. You know, there's great opportunities to put in fishing piers and a really nice river walk along that area.
But this would essentially make it so that Old Pond is no longer a pond?
Correct.
No more pond.
It would be a
Pond,
restored
pond.
stream. I mean, the pond is not a natural ecosystem in this area. The dam was put in that altered the wetland and the stream area and the stream functions. So it would be restoring the stream habitat.
Do we know how long that dam's been in effect?
At least 100 years.
Okay.
My guess.
That seems, if we're going towards restoration, it seems like it's a natural move to me.
I think too, I've mentioned this in the past with you guys. Vermont has taken this, on hand. They've removed a lot of dams. Reason of is just the reason of flooding due to our significant rainstorms we've been getting. We haven't seen that in town yet, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And getting ahead of it is not a bad idea. That's definitely where I see the dam as being the worst part. It's like, again, the pond's not really being a pond. It's not supposed to be a pond. You can actually kind of even see the flow again. Go, I don't know what street that is, but coming down the road behind Old Pond, you can see the flow going into it. It's supposed to be a stream. So
it improves our climate resilience for flooding events. There was something else I was going to go on and I lost my train of thought. Totally gone.
It's all right.
It'll come up again at some point. Probably that it's it's really maintaining dams is a public safety issue.
Yeah.
And
as we've learned.
Yeah. I mean, look at the dam breached in Taunton, and that was a significant issue. And once the stream was restored, everybody loves the stream. It looks beautiful. So public safety issue, it actually would reduce a significant cost and liability to the town as well. Those are sort of secondary items. We're looking at ecosystem services and floodplain and water flow issues really as the Conservation Commission. But it does have the benefit of reducing the cost and the number of site inspections and reports we have to provide to the Office of Dam Safety, and a significant cost to maintaining those dams.
And
would we be able to get funding from other sources to offset some of the costs?
We could look at the Division of Ecological Restoration program. They have something called priority projects, and we can try to get to be a priority project. They would provide a lot of the technical assistance for that. If that is not an option, then the Office of Dam Safety does have culvert removal grants that we can
do both.
You can do both.
Could we do both?
As long as they're both state, so you can't match state with state. If there was a federal and a state, or state and private funding, there's ways to leverage other funding.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess it just in general, is this a direction the commission would like to go in? And then do you want me to start the next steps? I guess is the question.
Sounds like a practical project. worthwhile.
Agreed.
I'm pro dam removal.
I'm slightly attached to Old Pond, but I'll go with the commission.
Borderlands got 7 man-made ponds. We're golden.
And is good.
New Pond is right there, so it's not like pond
attached to that.
won't be there. I know, I get that. It's not a great answer, but yeah.
Right.
We'll just continue looking into it. It's not like final decisions have been made. So if people see this or hear it, it's nothing's decided yet. We're still researching our options.
And I think from a conservation perspective, it makes sense. Next up is chair updates. I don't have any updates this week. So CPC updates.
None.
Environmental planner updates.
I do. I have a couple. We did walk the Keach site with the grant authority for the Forest Preserve grant. That's a 50% reimbursement grant. That seemed to go well. We did receive the appraisal. The appraisal for the eastern portion of the property, 15 acres. I'm not going to say because we are still in negotiations. But we did receive the appraisal. It's been sent to the property owner and, asked her to look over and see if she accepts that as the appraisal cost. So then I can update the CPC committee with our grant application and the Forest Preserve grant as well. So I'm hoping we get that information soon. The next, I already told you about the invasive removal initiative for Old Pond Dam. I'm meeting with Old Colony Planning Council representative and EPA and the Mansfield Conservation Agent. It's also a joint project. They're getting money in Mansfield as well for invasive species removal through this EPA grant. And we're meeting on Thursday just to go over all the logistics and to get that started.
Great.
Wheaton Farm Barn, we have a signed contract for structural work. So this is good. Hopefully they will be starting the next month or two. That's good. And we have a couple locations with beavers. I did contact, I forgot the name, Beaver Solutions. There's Mike Callahan. He's the one all the conservation agents call when they have beaver problems, to do an assessment of the two areas. Let us know if there's opportunity to install beaver deceivers, which is it's an excellent thing. They install another.
It's an excellent name for something.
It's a fantastic name. So they insert another pipe within the culvert through the beaver dam. And so the beaver can't actually get to it to fill it back in. And it's also below the water. So the beavers don't hear the water running. And so they don't keep trying to block it up. So it allows the beavers to stay, but also manages the water level so that people's septic systems and roads are not impacted. So the cost to visit two culverts is $350, which we have in our account. And then he will give, an assessment of the whole area, including what options we have for either installing the beaver deceivers, or if beaver removal is an option, then we have to go through fisheries and wildlife. And it's a rough time of year to do that because it's getting toward winter and it's not a good option. So we'll have to see what they recommend. Those are all my updates.
I didn't think we'd have to call a beaver consultant. That's pretty awesome.
For 22 years in Norton, I never had to call one. And all my colleagues were like, oh, beavers. And I'm like, I know somehow I don't have to call them. And here all of a sudden it's like everywhere I look, there's a beaver. There's a beaver.
Yep.
And they're wonderful creatures. We do want to keep them. They are part of our common wildlife and our, part of the natural habitat. But
you just need to deceive them.
we have to do that
Yeah.
balancing act where we keep them, conservation property is the appropriate location for them, but we don't want them negatively impacting residents or infrastructure. So luckily we do have a consultant that we can call, and I mean, they get rave reviews all over the state from my colleagues. So
Fantastic.
we'll do that site inspection soon.
And I think we talked about chestnut placement when we did Samurai Field, but Mike, do you want to address it briefly?
Yeah, so this weekend I was out with Dominic at Wheaton Farm. We had planted 6 chestnut trees, 3 American, 3 hybrid. Hopefully the American have a chance. They were originally going to go kind of where I showed you guys in like the left of like Samurai Field. Now we swung them over to, if you guys know the pollinator garden at Wheaton Farm, but where that is, it's to the left of the community garden. It's basically right in the parking lot. So Al, go in, guys, go in, check it all out. You'll see like
thank you.
on, like the right side going around the road, and then 2 are like within the pollinator garden themselves. But we're gonna kind of jazz that whole area up. It's Dominic really liked it on that spot, so we got some tags on it so the the community know. And there were people that walked by and they were like all excited about it. I was actually surprised how many people knew what they were. They were endangered, and how many people got really stoked about it. It was pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
That's really good.
Yeah, and Dominic hooked me up with some seeds, so I got those in the refrigerator. I'm learning how to get those going, and so we'll have those rocking for February-ish, and we'll be killing it. We're gonna have chestnuts everywhere.
Very
Want to see
good.
a couple pictures?
Yeah, you want to put them up? Do you want me
Please.
to put them? You got them.
No, hold on. Where is it?
Now, don't hate me. I will say this because Dominic had to say this to me too. When I left after I did all this, he's like, "They're probably gonna die." So just be cool with that. So I'm just letting you guys know I will be back to check on them, but they might die.
Is there anything we can do to kind of help keep them going, or is it just
You'll see them in the picture? No, they're hard. It's hard. Some take, some don't.
Oh, and I don't know why I called it Clifford Grant. I have to fix this.
Hey, they're gonna be there.
I got so excited. I wrote the Facebook post, and then Mike was like, "Hey, by the way," I'm like, "Oh." So we got that fixed quickly, but I have to change this slide so you can see the 6 plants here, very well protected with some screening and the orange fencing.
Yep,
looks great.
Awesome.
That's a great picture.
Yeah. Thanks to Mike and Dominic and Al, of course. Thanks to all of you. I think there was something else I was going to show you. So I did make some signs that we can post.
Oh, those are awesome.
Right next to the trees. So this is a quick chestnut project. We're doing some, go to the Chestnut Foundation, and then I printed off one of their flyers as well from the Chestnut Foundation, and I laminated that. So I plan to go install those. Just want to see if there's anything else. Nope, that was it. I don't need to show anything else.
Great. Awesome. Thank you for doing all that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's very exciting.
On the planet for the spring. We're gonna have a lot.
It's exciting.
It is. I never really thought much about it until I just liked eating them. So that Al, you've made it a love for me. So this is.
Do we need to go like water them? They need to be watered.
So for right now, I'm not gonna lie. The soil where we dug was freaking perfect. Like it could not have been better. So I think they're gonna do fine. I will still go check them. I might go throw some water on just for the sake of it. But no, I don't think we have to go rush there and worry too much.
The watering bags should be in this week.
Yeah, we ordered watering bags. That will help us come the spring, and that's when I think we'll all hands on deck. But for now, I think we're set to go.
Good.
Yeah.
Just worry about deer and rabbit. That's our pests.
Too bad we couldn't put the beavers to work.
Yeah, well, unless they become bodyguards, they're not going to help us any. So.
Be productive.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just making another beaver joke. Sorry, I'm done.
They didn't get permits either, no. I forgot to mention the open space plan. We sent out the survey, not this past Friday, the Friday before. We now have 80 responses, which is really good for a town survey. I will start preparing the presentation, and then I'll need to start going to all the board meetings. I'll do separate meetings with other organizations like the Council on Aging, the Senior Center. boards and committee meetings. Then we'll also have separate, probably in-person meetings where people can come and talk about open space plan stuff. But it's off to a good start with 80 responses. That's pretty amazing.
That's great.
So I've started posting flyers about the open space plan at the trailheads, and Joe from the Rec Commission, he's supposed to be doing that at playgrounds and ball fields as well. So we gave one to library, the YMCA. Fernandez is putting it at their checkout counter. If anyone can think of places to put these signs in local businesses or churches, whatever, if you think of a place and want some flyers, I'm happy to give them to you. Please go put them up so we get as many comments as we can.
How about Langwater?
Yep, we could do that as well.
Shoveltown's always a good spot.
I'm happy to print those. If you guys want to run over and do it, that would be great if you could take a couple and then spread those around.
Sure.
That would be very helpful. Thank you. That's it.
All right. Any item not reasonably anticipated by the chair? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Rossman, aye.
Hey,
Yashio, aye.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.